Hello, everybody. This is Mike L, and I'm joined by G.I.Jolie and our frequent guest and co-host of Here Comes the Spider-Cast,
Joshua Murr-VELL.
That's right. In case you didn't know what Joshua Murr-VELL looked like, this is him. So we just saw a movie by a studio that's not Marvel, that's not Warner Brothers DC. We just saw Bloodshot from Valiant Comics, okay? Before we get into the movie review, we're going to give a quick rundown of the comics. 1991-ish, Jim Shooter, Steve Masarkey created this company called Valiant with some other people as well. They brought in Bob Layton, Barry Windsor-Smith, Kevin Van Hook, Bob Hall, Steve Ditko, some other writers, and they created their whole line of superheroes combined with Gold Key superheroes from the 70s. And when they launched, they were a pretty big hit. They became really big after a couple years with these number zeros and number ones selling millions of copies. It was a great alternative to Image Comics and Marvel Comics at the time and DC Comics. I think there was a big focus on story and continuity, and I have 2 or 3 short boxes of almost every comic they did in the 90s, and they're awesome.
You want every issue of Harbinger?
$20. Yeah, there you go. So we just saw Bloodshot.
Is that what we saw?
Let's just talk about the premise here. So the premise of the film is Vin Diesel, Bloodshot. Sorry, Bloodshot is a character. Yeah, that is he's kind of like a government agent that is injected with these nanites. What are they called?
Nanites.
Nanites that rebuild his body. So basically, he's kind of like Wolverine. It's like a technological healing factor in a way, right? So that's cool. That's great.
And he's kind of like Wolverine and Punisher mixed together, I guess, because he's like a mercenary.
You're right.
Like
Good
Punisher.
Point. Yeah, you totally good point. But the other thing is that he also has implanted memories, kind of like Wolverine. But in this movie, now here's the thing.
It's a program.
We just rewatched the trailer before we did this review. The trailer, in one sense, they give away the entire story from beginning to end. And the other sense, they make it look a little bit more fun. They use the Johnny Cash song in the trailer. Was I wrong, or was that not in the movie?
No.
That was not in the movie.
That's fine.
There's a line in the movie where he's like, is this thing on repeat? That was not in the movie, was it? And so, okay, that's fine.
No,
I can accept the fact that some things in the trailer are not in the movie, but the main song of the trailer that's repeated 10 times is not in the film. Instead, they use Psycho Killer by, what are they called? That band I hate. Talking Heads. I'm sorry, Maurice. I hate them. But it's like, that's one of the main things about the movie. And this is just a small, petty, small example, but just use the same song in the trailer, you know what I mean? So now when you go watch this movie, you have
Maybe they only licensed it for the trailer.
Yeah, sometimes too, they don't have control over the trailers.
Okay, that's
a lot of
true.
the footage is sent to a trailer studio to edit and put out.
Okay.
So if they get the premise that it's something happening over and over again, kind of like a Groundhog Day,
sure,
they might just choose some music to repeat over and over again just to let the audience know during the trailer. Yeah.
Or the word memories to really drive that premise home.
I'll just say that.
Sorry,
I've read a lot of the '90s comics, some of the modern comics. I'm just gonna say I have mixed feelings about this movie. But you know what, Joshua Murr-VELL, since this is only your second movie review, we're gonna start with you.
Right. Okay.
Let's tell us, what did you think about this movie, Bloodshot?
It was really falling apart right from the beginning for me.
Okay.
And then with the revelation that Vin Diesel's character, it's all kind of spoiler alert, I guess, it's all kind of like a simulation, and they're planting these ideas into his head. So the beginning part where things weren't matching up, I guess, made sense. And when things just were happening for no reason, I guess they could kind of use that as an excuse that it's just they're making him do it, so it's fine. At one point, he's woken up for the first time. He's got this new body. He doesn't really remember who he is. He's in this brand new facility he's never been in. And then once he gets all of his memories back, he just leaves, and he has keys to a pickup truck and just leaves.
I don't know.
He just has.
I know. And then he's flying.
He just
I know.
So I'm like, why is all this? Why are all these things just happening rather than there's no reason for anything happening. Things are just happening because the story needs it to happen, right?
Right.
And then with that kind of twist, I'm like, okay, I guess you can kind of explain it all away with they're making him do those things.
Yeah, they put the keys in his room and...
Right, but the thing is, they don't show that, right?
Yeah.
You just have to piece that together, that all of these things that are just happening are happening because they're making him, because you don't see him pick up the keys. He's just all of a sudden in a truck doing in the middle of a car chase.
Yeah.
Like
It's you know what? Okay, we're gonna jump around here. We want to
Yeah,
get okay, Jolie.
for sure.
What are your first impressions of this film?
Okay. Immediately when it started, I was like, okay, this is fine. This feels like I'm watching a Vin Diesel movie.
Right.
Admittedly, I was like, okay, great. Signature Vin Diesel voice, signature Vin Diesel military getup, right into terrorist action, and then right into nanotechnology. I don't. It was
Well-
okay. I don't know what else. It was okay. First impression, it was not.
Bad.
Yeah, it was not bad. It was just I'm whelmed.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing: is that I don't think I've seen personally. I haven't watched any of the Fast and Furious movies. I haven't seen a Vin Diesel movie since I don't even know when. Okay.
Missing out.
Now I can accept that we're here. We're not watching a Marvel movie. We're not watching a DC movie. We're watching. It's almost like an action movie with special effects. I can accept that, but for me, there's moments in the film where I tried to analyze. Okay, what's going wrong? The special effects are good. The cinematography is great. Some of the editing is okay. The actors are okay. The dialogue's okay. So what's happening here? There's a scene where the girl in the movie, I don't remember her name. She is
KT.
KT. She's goes into a room and drops some gas bombs on people, and people start flying all over the place. And I'm sitting there going, what room is she in? Who are these people? Why is she there again?
She's in the server room. Couldn't you tell by all of the IT people in
No,
there? IT people
It was
in there?
poorly directed.
Yeah.
It was poor storytelling. It's like I could figure out where she was, but it it wasn't told clearly. There was so many shots in the movie where it was like this, and the problem is that when you shoot a movie like that, it never feels like they're in a real space. You have to
Right.
give some geography. Like if we were to shoot this room, you have to get an idea. We're in a room. There's a phone. There's a coffee mug. But if you just shoot hands and faces, you're like, where the hell are these people? That's what I think the big problem
Yeah, so it's like I did a little bit of research, and the director is really well known, is known, I guess. A lot of his credits are for video games.
Okay.
And I found that the storytelling suffered from like very typical video game storytelling.
Right.
So it's like every sort of space or the geography was very indicative of the way that video game cutscenes tell their stories, because you control the majority of the action, but they move you along, right? The cutscenes that they create move you along. So it's very like cliched. This is a server room. Like,
Yeah.
they depended too much, going from your example, they depended too much on the idea that everyone sort of gets what a server room kind of looks like based on these panels with lights.
Sure.
Right? And then the fact that she's communicating in a headset with like
Sure.
the IT guy in the van, like the programmer in the van who's hacking into the system. And there was another scene where they transition to Tibbs and the other guy, the two other mercenaries that they have, where they transition into that fight scene. But then this is another thing that they do in video games when they cut from one location to another. They say what's happening in voiceover. The voiceover of one of the characters comes over top of the cut, or there's like a movement shot in the environment, and then you hear a voiceover, and they did that a lot.
I think the problem is they're telling the story through dialogue and through like narration almost, rather than showing you what's happening and just letting the visuals speak for themselves. A lot of the times you don't get to understand why she's going to a server room or where the server room even is. You just get it over the voiceover of the guy in the van saying, hey, destroy the server room, you got to do this and this. Like, you don't really understand why they're doing it. They just tell you that they're doing it.
When the movie started and the guy was dancing along to Psycho Killer, I thought, oh my God, this is so cliche. It's just Reservoir Dogs.
Right.
But then at least they call attention to it later when they say, oh, well, that guy, he's helping write these simulations. He's basing on action movie cliches. So at least they call attention to it. But here's the thing, though, is that I'm watching the movie and I'm like, this premise could be executed so much better.
Yeah.
In Groundhog Day, which you mentioned, have it all be from his point of view. He wakes up again and he's like, what's going on? He wakes up, what's going on? But instead,
Memento with Guy Pearce.
Yeah, Memento with the same actor. Maybe that's why they cast him. In this movie, the second time he wakes up, we already know what's going on because they already show from the point of view of Guy Pearce, them programming him. So then
Right.
when he wakes up, they just rush through all the repeats. Wouldn't have been better if he woke up and then
it just happened
and then he
again?
started talking to them again, and the audience is like, "Wait a minute, why is he having the same conversation again?"
Right.
That would have been so much better. But instead, they just give everything away.
It would have been a lot better too if like maybe after each time he was kind of rebooted, he was finding clues, and maybe even KT was like leaving things for him to like figure out on his own.
That's
but
what I thought
instead,
when she had those little
the
medallions. I
coin-
thought, oh, those gonna be clues. He's gonna figure it out. No,
they even do like a close-up shot later on when she does switch, like she's looking at the coin and like thinking about it, and then that's it. Like they set up this really cool premise and this really like fresh idea of like having this essentially machine, like the soldier turned machine, getting rebooted every time they need to kill somebody and implanting memories into his head. So, you know, but instead of like making that the part of the mystery, they explain it to him in the first 25 minutes of the movie probably, right? They tell him exactly what's going on.
And they
It's
have
no
that
longer a mystery.
redneck dude who's spitting on the floor and leaving his
chewing his gum.
why?
Like,
What good?
because he has to be a bad guy,
Right,
Mike.
right.
You got to know that he's a bad guy.
so evil.
And that's the thing, is that there's different ways that you can tell a story like that. You can do it from the point of view of the protagonist, or you can do it from the point of view where the audience knows more than the character. But they didn't even do it right. Like,
No.
there was really no suspense of him.
They did it okay.
They did it okay, but not good.
See, I didn't think so, because they just told him at the same time they told the audience. You know what I mean? Like, the bad guy just went up to him and said, hey, guess what? You're going to get rebooted, and then press the button, and then things started over again. We didn't even get once a reset where we didn't know what was going on. Or even he didn't really know what was going on before he came and told them.
Like I said, there are 2 or 3 things that do this right. Groundhog Day, Star Trek Cause and Effect, and X-Files Monday. Go and watch those. That is the right way you do something like
There's
this.
a really good episode of Community, too, that does it really well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good episode.
There you go. There's
Yeah.
another one. They got that all wrong. Let's talk about...
Also, Buffy. Buffy did a time.
Did they? I don't remember that
Really?
one.
Remember when Jonathan and Andrew implant her with a loop, and she is always trying to sell the mummy hand?
Okay, I remember that. Yeah,
Okay.
It's one of the best shows ever written. Okay, so let's talk about the actors. Okay, based on what we remember here, you can bring this up here. So first, we've got Vin Diesel. This guy, he does have screen presence, but if I knew him in real life, I'd want to punch him in the face.
Do you think he really has screen presence?
Well-
'Cause I don't. He has 2 modes. He's either whispering and like saying things monotonely. He's barely moving his mouth when he talks. Like sometimes I'm like, did they like dub
Yes!
it in? Because his mouth isn't moving in some of the scenes where he's just like.
Is it
what
just
are you
me,
doing?
or can he not act? Like,
Yeah, no, he can't.
No.
He's either whispering or screaming.
I think
That's
he
it.
was blessed with like a smoker's hack.
yeah, there
But
you
like,
go. Yeah.
he's not terrible, because when the guy's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "To bed." Like, there's some performances that the director was able to pull out of him that were
Right.
like really sincere. But like, whenever he had to get like really out of it, he like would strain on the last word. But they kept that in as if they did like one take of it.
Right. I
So-
felt like every time he, like when he was tied up in the chair, I feel like the director was off camera going, "Okay, say it quiet. Okay, now okay, he's okay.
too
Say
bad.
it quiet. Okay, now the next line, say it loud. Okay, then he says it loud. Okay, that's okay. Take 1 is good. Okay, move on to the next line." And it's like they just went through the lines and just
Yeah.
said, "Say it fast. Say it slow. Say it loud. Say it quiet." And there's no actual acting. You know?
The director is in video games, so
Video
that
games.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
'Cause they would do voiceover a lot. And Vin Diesel is also a pretty well-known, pretty big in voice acting.
Sure.
Like he's done Groot, he's done the Giant in Iron Giant, he's been in a lot of like animated TV shows and stuff like that. So it's also weird that he doesn't emote and have any like inflection in his voice during this, or really a lot of his movies.
So Guy Pearce, never one of my favorite actors. I mean, he was good in LA Confidential. I mean, he was good in Memento, which is
Yeah.
a great movie, Christopher Nolan movie. What'd you guys think? He was okay.
Yeah, I think he was a pretty serviceable bad guy. Like,
Yeah, it was nice to see him in a movie.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
in a movie. Yes.
He's always a
Okay, who's next?
pleasure.
Yeah, let's start with KT.
Okay.
I mean, obviously good looking. Other than being a model, what is she? I mean, she's okay.
yeah, I thought that she had some pretty good line delivery, and I at least there was like emotion, like you can see emotion in her face.
Yes,
when
yeah.
compared to Vin Diesel, especially
Voter
when she's
standards in
like
this movie. Okay.
when she's trying to decide what she's supposed to do. Like she wants to turn on the agency, but they literally have her life on the line, and
Right.
she's being forced to do it. And I thought that there were some fun things, like even when she's like going to get the hacker guy, and she's like lighting up the smoke, and I thought there was like a little bit of charisma there.
A little
like,
bit.
You know, there's still something. I don't recognize her from anything though.
What about his wife, the blonde?
Why are we talking about her?
Why not?
She has zero
Yeah.
role.
Who else is there to talk about? The two faceless bad guys?
Well,
No,
No,
how
the
about the
hacker.
programmer, the hacker?
he
He
was
was
okay.
Winston in
Okay.
New Girl.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen that, so I don't know anything about him.
He was fun. Like I
Yeah,
think
he
he
was
was a
fun.
good sidekick character.
He was
in an action movie.
probably the most, probably the best acted. The only one who was able to interpret the weird dialogue that they were all given. The overwritten video game dialogue that
Right.
they were all given. Like, did you notice that like I was surprised. I was like, wow, this movie isn't like great, but the dialogue isn't half bad.
It's pretty good. It was
Yeah.
decent.
It was decent. Even the plot of the movie, it was like someone said, no, there was a conscious decision to leave some stuff out. I feel like,
Right.
and to leave other things in.
There's nothing to talk about with the actors, so we'll just get right back to the story. Let's just summarize how we feel about the story. So we all agree that the premise is good, the character is good. It could have been told much better.
Yeah.
The directing, again, it's the storytelling. Like, they just didn't tell this story right. I guess the biggest problem is it feels like it's almost like if you didn't know it was a comic book movie, you just think, oh, this is just another Vin Diesel vehicle.
Right.
Right?
Which it gets like, A+ from me for.
Well, I mean, if you're a fan of that thing, then maybe that's who they're going for. Maybe they shouldn't be. I don't know. Maybe they should be going for a different audience.
I don't know. I think that it is a really great premise for a story, but they just didn't pull it off for me, and like the way that they went about it, I just didn't work.
Right.
There's a lot of great action scenes. There's a lot of like really visually stunning stuff, like that first scene when he goes out on the killing rampage in the tunnel with the flower everywhere. Like that was great. Everything's
pretty
like
good, yeah.
Everything's like lit red. The editing, I think, maybe at times was a little too fast. It was a little hard to see at times what was going on. But when they like slowed down for a second and let the camera just kind of sit still and you can see what was going on, it was beautiful. Like the flower kind of flying everywhere, and like I was confused at
His
first
face
what even
coming
what it
away and
was,
then coming
right?
back.
Right.
Yeah.
It almost
So-
looked like it was real.
Yeah, it was the special effects were fine.
Like they made it part of the slow-mo, and it was like part of the illusion, which was nice.
Yeah.
So I guess
It's like a thinking man's Fast 9.
So anyway, so let's put it this way. We've been surprised before. Venom was not a good movie. It was a shit movie, but somehow it made tons of money. Is this movie a viable competitor for Marvel and DC?
Yeah, I would say so. It's a really good offering from Valiant. What did you say? It was only cost. It only
was
cost
a
$45 million.
$45 million budget, which
That's
is
amazing.
tiny.
No, that's
which is
tiny.
crazy. Venom was over 100, so it
And
was
this movie
double what.
looked better.
No, this movie. You know what? The budget, like, it looked fine. Maybe they
there-
could have shown a little bit more, but the special effects were fine.
The only time I had trouble with the visual effects was when the fight scenes where the characters are a little bit rubbery. But I mean that it's hard for any studio to get that right. Black Panther made the characters look like rubbery fighting, and so like it didn't pull me out of the movie. It didn't. It's definitely not anything that I would really take away, because I think the rest of it is visually stunning. So.
So what do you think? Competitor for Marvel and DC?
Well, no, but like it definitely a great offering into the action drama, like the action
genre
that exists in Hollywood today.
I can just say I want Valiant to succeed. I want there to be other kinds of superhero movies. This isn't different enough to satisfy me, but at least they're trying. I want Valiant to succeed. I want Kevin Van Hook and his, stories to, make their way to Hollywood, and all of our pals, Bob Hall, John Ostrander, Bob Layton, all the guys that we've met that, we've talked about Valiant with. I want there to be a viable alternative to Marvel and DC.
Right.
I don't know if this is it.
Do you think that this is a superhero movie though? Because this
That's
character's not.
legitimate.
It's just a comic book, right? It's based off a comic book. Not all comics are superheroes,
But
right?
Bloodshot is sort of a superhero.
Well, I think that's kind of an argument for another time.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, but whether or not the character is, this movie is not a superhero movie.
No, I mean,
Right?
let's be clear. He doesn't even look like the comic book Bloodshot. He just looks
No,
like...
they kind of cop out with that. Like, they
Yeah.
make his chest a little bit red every once in a while.
And they make
then
him
they
white
have,
towards the end.
and then they have, like, the circle on his,
Right.
like, all-white shirt. But it's a white circle on a white shirt. So it's like, kind of a cop-out, like, to pay homage. But...
Marvel has been de-superheroizing their movies for years now, and this is kind of a de-superheroized superhero movie. So
Right.
you're right. It's almost like it's not really a super movie. It's an action movie it's a super movie disguised... Wait. No, it's an action movie disguised as a superhero movie. Kind of. Or is it
Right.
a super movie disguised as an action movie? I don't know.
The last.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
So, last question. Do you recommend this film, Josh?
No, I don't think I do.
Oh!
I don't know. I there's fun stuff. I don't recommend going to see it in theaters.
Okay.
Maybe catch it on Netflix.
Oh.
You know.
Sorry, Kev.
Sorry.
Kevin Van Hook. Jolie, do you recommend this film?
Yes.
Okay. I recommend this film with a preamble that you have to accept a lot of things going. You have to accept that Vin Diesel is in
Yeah.
it.
Transport yourself back to the era of like the 90s and Blade and like what's that Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan movie?
Rush Hour?
Rush Hour?
Yeah,
Right.
Just pretend that that's all you've ever seen, and then this
Sure.
movie comes along. This would be a masterpiece in the late 90s.
Yeah, this is like
Masterpiece.
this is where Marvel was in like 2003-ish. Like when they were doing like Ghost Rider,
Right.
Daredevil, and Elektra and all that. Like that's what unfortunately where Valiant is right
I'm
now.
still
Yeah,
giving them like way more praise for the dialogue, though. I am.
It's not
like,
bad.
Like a tad impressed.
Yeah. I think that if the
Surprised.
if the actors and the characters felt like they were having more fun with it, maybe it would feel kind of more
Yes.
like a fun action
At
movie.
least
but-
Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider was fun, but this movie's not that fun. It's kind of dreary.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why we both like the hacker character, because it felt like that was the only actor that was having fun on set.
Yes, if everyone was
Right.
having as
So-
much fun as Lamorne Morris,
Right.
there would be a sequel.
Right.
Right. Okay, so there you go, folks. We love our pals at Valiant.
Mm-hmm.
This was a decent start to their cinematic universe that hopefully is coming.
Turok has a dinosaur. Make that one next.
There you go. That's actually the rights are Gold Key now, so it won't be that.
Oh.
Maybe Eternal Warriors next. Who knows? But anyway, so that was a review of Bloodshot. Go and check it out anyway. Never mind the coronavirus. You'll be fine.
We were.
Yeah, well, we'll find out in
Yeah.
14 days. Anyway, okay, so thank you. Join us next time. This has been the Comic Book Syndicate with our review of Bloodshot.